Hi, welcome back to my channel. Psychic Medium Jennifer Hall here. Thanks for being here with me today. In this video, I'm going to share with you step by step my process of how I open myself up before a mediumship session. So if that interests you, if you would like to know how things work on my end, stick with me. We're going to get right into it.
Welcome to Spirit Speaks with Psychic Medium Jennifer Hall.
So I've had this question so often, and I thought that I would make a video around it. Mostly it's just around curiosity. I think people just want to know how I open up to spirit, what my process looks like, what my morning routine kind of looks like leading up to my sessions. So just to give you an idea, I work mainly in the morning. So I rarely do clients in the afternoons or in the evenings, simply because A, it works better for my schedule with my family, but it really is my time where I feel the most connected. So I am such a morning person. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I am turned on and ready to go for the day. So I like to take my clients first thing. I find that I have the most energy at that time, and I feel the most connected at that time of day. So for me, I have children, and so my morning routine is a little bit, I'm not jumping right into my work routine by any means. It's a little bit crazy and hectic sometimes, but once they're whisked off to school, I come downstairs. I work from home, so I get to come downstairs, which is where I work, my beautiful office space. And this is where I start my meditation process and where I really start kind of coming within and connecting with myself. So ideally, this would happen first thing in the morning. And to be honest with you, I try to, even just while I'm still lying in bed, before I even get out of bed, my whole kind of connection process begins. But as I mentioned, I have a family and we have things to do, places to go, people to see, and it's not always beautiful. It's not always perfect. So on the days, well, pretty much most days, by the time the kids are off to school and my day really starts, my work day starts, I'm ready to just sort of reconnect. Whether I've done kind of a morning affirmation or morning meditation or morning connection, before I jumped out of bed or even throughout the morning, whether I've done that or not, it doesn't really matter by this point. I'm ready to do it again. So I enter into my office space, usually for the first 5 or 10 minutes. I just do what I call like a brain dump. And I just take a piece of paper in my journal and a pen, and I just write. And I really just kind of get anything that's on my mind. If I have a to-do list for that day after my clients, I'll write out what I need to get done, what I need to do for the family, what our schedule is, all that kind of stuff. Basically anything that is on my mind that has nothing to do with the session that I'm about to go into. I write it out because for me, I'm a very visual person. It makes sense for me to see things out on paper, but it's also a stress reliever. And I find that this is a really cool activity for anyone to do, especially right before bed or first thing in the morning, or right when you get to work or whatever it is that your routine looks like. At some point, if you feel like as if your mind is busy or your mind is a bit buzzing or chaotic, which mine happens to be occasionally, just sit and try this. Just brain dump. So just take a piece of paper. You can write that across the top of the page, or you can just call it a journal page. But I basically just write to get things off my mind, off my chest, and out into the open so that I don't have to think about them and carry them into my session. So the next thing that I do is, after I've written some pages, after I've got things off my chest, off of my mind, is I do something to raise my vibration. For me, that usually looks like something kind of creative, either along the lines of continuing to write, or I'll listen to a beautiful song that I love. Usually I have like 1 or 2 songs that I'm kind of crazy about at a certain time, or something that really makes me feel good. And I'll do that. I'll listen to a song, or I'll put on, my favorite motivational speaker and listen to a little clip-it or a little snippet of that for maybe 10 to 15 minutes tops. Not too long, but basically I just get my mind in a place where I'm exuding positivity. So I shift my vibration. You guys have all heard me talk about vibrations before. Usually when I'm, after I finished writing, everything that I write down, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. So some of the stuff that I'm getting off my chest is kind of heavy things or things that I'm just kind of stressed about. So coming right out of that activity and moving into something that raises my vibration is super important for me before I go into a session with spirit. So this tends to look like really any kind of activity that really makes me feel good. So for me, it's usually coming from an outside source. I mean, I could go for a walk, I could do some yoga, I could do some stretching. Sometimes I do those things. Sometimes I'll hop on the treadmill for 10 minutes, or I'll color some coloring pages, or listen to, like I said, a beautiful song, or a motivational speaker. So I just do something that makes me feel good and kind of brings my attention away from sort of all that stuff that I was just writing out, and brings it to a neutral place. So really raising my vibration, bringing my vibration to a place where it's more neutral and a little bit more of a positive vibe. So step number 3, the third thing that I do before I'm moving into a session with a client, is I meditate. And this is kind of a given. I'm sure that most of the people that come to see me, they know that I'm a meditator, and that that's something that's part of the process. But this doesn't have to be something that I do only because I'm bringing a client into my home to do a session. This is something that you can do at home, and that I try to do even on my days off, is I sit in quiet contemplation, sit in quiet, peaceful moments, usually about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, no longer than 15 minutes. We really don't need that much more. But this is a time where I close my eyes, and I don't usually do a guided meditation at this time. I can, and sometimes that's what I reach for if I'm really having a tough time connecting or just kind of quieting my mind. But I find that this is the perfect time, first thing in the morning, after I've done all these other activities. I sort of just turn down, I turn off, and I close my eyes, I take some deep breaths, and usually I'm listening to either like a clock ticking in the background, or the vent from the heater or the air conditioner, and just quieting my mind and listening. And oftentimes this is the point where I'll do a little bit of an active meditation, which I call that activity where we're kind of purposefully guiding ourselves through a bit of a process, if that makes sense. So I start with a quiet meditation where I literally am just no thought. And as much as I possibly can, I just bring as soon as my mind wanders, I bring my mind back to the moment and back to that quietness, and just listening to whatever it is that I'm listening to in that room, bringing myself into this space of quiet. And then right from there, like I said, I'm going to move into a little bit more of an active meditation. For me, this looks like calling in my highest being. So connecting with my highermost inner self. And I'll usually use words like, I call upon my inner being, or I call upon my highest source, or I call upon God, or whatever word I want to use for that creator energy, that energy that flows through me and you at all times. I call upon that. And really, to be honest with you, I don't need to call upon it. And I'm very aware of this. I don't need to bring anybody here. They're all here. All the guides and the angels, and of course my inner being and source energy. It's always around us. It's always around me. But when I call that in, when I purposefully sort of bring them here, what I'm really doing is shifting my awareness to spirit. So that's where I start. So I do this little quiet meditation, and then I do a more active meditation where I just call in my peeps. And let's be serious, I think that we all want to believe that we have a team of people working with us, rooting for us at all times. And I truly do believe that. I mean, I've worked, firsthand with all of these teams for my clients, but I too believe and really kind of lean on the fact sometimes that I'm not alone. And so I'll call upon my deceased loved ones, so my friends and my family in spirit, people that I've lost, people that I know are with me at all times and rooting me on and guiding me. I'll call upon maybe some archangels or some energies of my guides and masters and universal collective consciousness and all of that that's out there. I just call upon that infinite intelligence, and what I'm really doing is just shifting my awareness. So like I said, I'm not really calling upon anybody because it's all there, it's always accessible to us. I'm just sitting in a space where I'm actively shifting my awareness to that place of non-physical, that spirit energy. So that's where I kind of go. That's my meditation practice. And I sit there and I commune with them, and I sort of call them in and kind of become aware of all these entities in my space, and fill my room with high vibrational energies like love and peace and clarity. And, if we're talking about a vibrational world, all of these things like feelings like love and feelings like clarity and feelings like peace of mind and closure for some people, and all of that, anything that I I feel I need to kind of call upon in order to just sort of set the vibration right in my space, I do that in this little meditation. Okay, so the very next thing that I do, this usually puts me at about 15 minutes or so before my client shows up. And this is kind of where I sit and I call upon my client's energy. So not in a, I always kind of joke, not in like a really nosy way or anything like that, but my client sort of shows up essentially before they actually show up. So, I call upon their higher being, so their highest, most divine self. That is what I'm reading when I'm doing a session. I pick up on, my client's highest divine path, that connection between my inner being and that person's inner being. And so it's very beautiful, very high vibrational, and they can show up before they actually show up. So I get a little bit of a sneak peek. I usually, at this point, kind of get a feel for it. So it's more of an extended meditation, I suppose I would say. My eyes are closed still, and I'm kind of just getting a feel for who's working with them. So what kind of angels or guides or what kind of path they're on right now. Sometimes I get thoughts and feelings and things that come up, and I'll jot them down. I'll write them out. Usually at this point, because no one's there to validate those informations for me, I kind of feel like a crazy person, but I write them out anyways. And like I said, I'll get a feel for what their aura is like or what kind of vibration they're holding within them right now, what kind of path they're on. And I also call upon any loved ones on the other side for them. So deceased loved ones, I call upon, like I said, their guides and their angels and anybody that works with them for their greatest and highest good. And I invite them all here and into my space, into my office, and we have a little bit of a conversation, I guess, before the conversations really begin. I'm not really getting a whole lot of information throughout this particular step by any means. It's really just kind of setting the stage and for me to get a feel and really kind of sending some love and some peace of mind to my client. A lot of the times my clients come to see me and they're a little bit nervous. They're not really sure what to expect, and maybe nervous that someone's going to show up or not show up. And so I just sort of send some love out there and I connect with their inner being and try and make things a little bit calm, cool, and collected for them and for me as well. Okay, and then at last, my client shows up, or clients, or whoever's coming to see me that particular day. So as I mentioned, I work from home, so they come to my home and we venture downstairs to my workspace and we sort of chit-chat a little bit. I obviously welcome them. And then I want to kind of go through how I explain to them how the process really works, because this is also kind of a fun little detail for you guys to know, but also sort of sets the stage a little bit. Now, when I give them my little intro, which is usually just to tell them how I receive my information and how things might play out throughout the session, this is also a very key component to me opening up with spirit, because this little intro has become my way of letting spirit know that I'm ready to start, that I'm ready to go, and that whenever they're ready, whenever they want to step into my energy field, I'm ready for them. So it sort of looks like me at first kind of setting the stage, which I'm doing. I'm kind of giving people an idea of how I work. So reminding them that I'm a medium, meaning that the information that I'm receiving is coming from an outside source. So as a medium versus being a psychic, where you're kind of reading that person's energy, kind of like what I'm doing before they show up, I'm getting a feel for their energy and what's happening in their life. That's more of the psychic stuff. So as a medium, the information is coming from an outside source. So what's cool about that is that I'm really communicating with spirit, and that's what I'm explaining to my client at that moment. So all of the information that I'm receiving in that time that we're together is coming from spirit. And in order to make sense of all of that non-physical energy in my readings, I've categorized spirit into two categories. So again, because I'm a medium and because I communicate with deceased loved ones on the other side, they get their very own category. So with me as a medium, they get their own little category. We get to chat with them, and they come through very specifically and very uniquely to them. And so it's kind of important for us, I think, as humans to know that our loved ones are still around, that they're still watching, that they're still a part of our lives, that they're rooting for us, that they're living with us, not, watching us from some far off place, that they're very much a part of what's happening. And so they get their very own category, so to speak, because the term spirit to me means so much. I use it to define all non-physical energy. So big capital S, I just use that term to really mean our inner beings, our source energy, so God, creator, universal collective consciousness, infinite intelligence, and guides, angels, loved ones, all of that. So they get their own category, your loved ones on the other side, in a reading with me, simply because it's kind of a comforting thing. A lot of people come to me for guidance, but most people are coming to me to connect with their loved ones on the other side. So they get their own category. Everything else kind of is lumped into another category that I call spirit. And really that information I'm receiving from them tends to be more about guidance. So it tends to be more kind of about the person that I'm sitting with, their path moving forward, and really where they're at right now, moving towards what they're hoping to do and all that kind of stuff. So sort of more about the guidance. And I have these two categories. So that's what I explain to my clients when they sit down. I sort of explain how that kind of comes through. I let them know that I say whatever comes to me. It is not my job as a medium to hold back by any means. So no matter what I'm feeling, sensing, hearing, or seeing in a session, I'm going to say it, and hopefully it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'm probably, messing it up somewhere. I'm probably getting the message wrong from what Spirit's intending. But we'll work on it together, and things will really kind of piece together. I sort of say that it shouldn't be a guessing game when you go to see a medium. It should be pretty specific. It should be pretty obvious who we're talking to, and maybe not everything 100% will make sense right off the bat. Sometimes things take a while to click in. Maybe the next time you listen to the recording, or if you go over your notes or whatever. But for the most part, it should be pretty clear and pretty obvious. So that's sort of what I go through with my clients. And as I am saying all of this, as I am delivering these instructions, so to speak, I'm giving Spirit an opportunity and really kind of starting to check out. So I'm giving Spirit an opportunity to step forward and kind of bring their vibration a little bit towards mine. And internally, I'm raising my vibration to a place just by almost like checking out. So as I start giving my intro, it's sort of a talking meditation to me to start really kind of setting my conscious mind aside and really diving deep and connecting with Spirit. So once I've kind of finished with this little intro, usually I'll talk about what I was picking up on in my meditation. Sometimes I'll jump right into it because right away I'll feel somebody standing around or somebody ready to talk. So that part kind of gets a little bit more specific and unique to the person sitting with me. But that's step by step what I go through before I start a session. And if you guys want, let me know, comment below and tell me if you'd like me to walk you through an actual session, or if you'd like to see a session, and how that works and how it kind of, we can break it apart and all that kind of stuff. So comment below, let me know if that would interest you. Otherwise, thanks for sticking around. I absolutely adore each and every one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you again.